Alright, before this video really starts, I have to provide a little bit of disclosing information. 1. The research for this video was almost entirely provided by Nolera, or Jason, who not only wrote an extensive document on this topic, but basically co-wrote this whole video. Were it not for them, you wouldn't be seeing this. 2. This video is short and wrong. Due to how obscure this topic is and how many details there are, you can bet your ass there are a lot of mistakes, unprovable statements, and specifics that I don't spend nearly enough time developing or explaining. 3. There is an unpinned comment under this video which has a bunch of correctional information, credit links, and just general information related to the video. Hi, my name's Dip. I have a very, eclectic taste in music. One moment it's EDM, funk house, and Eurobeat, and the next it's classical symphonies, jazz, and lo-fi hip-hop. One moment it's classic rock, death metal, and whatever the hell this shit is, and the next it's video game OSTs, movie scores, and remixes. I've heard a variety of comments about my taste in music, such as, just pick a genre, and this is too intense for driving music. Ooh, my favorite one is, this music sucks ass. But there's one comment that actually matters for this video. It's, death metal's just noise, not music. Not only do I disagree with this comment, but after falling down the rabbit hole I have for the past few months, these people have no idea what noise even means. What you're listening to is a song from the band Five Starcle Men. This genre of music is literally called, well, noise music. The entire point of this genre is to literally be not music. It's very experimental. You might have seen this symbol in relation to the topic, but I'm gonna assume most of you haven't because, well, most of you haven't seen the topic. Noise music is obscure as hell. It's one of those genres where people joke about there being more artists than actual listeners, and that might be a stretch, but honestly, I think it makes sense to say. Hell, I searched noise music on YouTube and was greeted with more video essays about noise music than I was actual songs from the genre. If it's this hard to find noise music, then doing anything like archiving it or tracking it down is going to be damn near impossible. I am not a manufacturer of psychedelic drugs, and I do not know what would motivate anyone to think that. I have never committed a crime in my life. Dextromethorphan, also known as DXM, is the primary ingredient in most over-the-counter cough medicines. If taken in the intended doses, dextromethorphan can help suppress or alleviate throat pain and coughing. This is especially useful for people who have lung cancer, the cold, COVID, or are dumbasses like me who eat cough drops like they're goldfish. However, if taken in extremely high doses, DXM can cause visual hallucinations, auditory hallucinations, death, you know what? Now that I'm reading over this, I'm starting to think that it wasn't a great idea to eat 40 bags of cough drops in one day, but I mean, like, they make them taste so good. I had to try all the flavors. Did you know there's actually a barbecue flavored cough? Lancaster, California, 1992, the city right next to that shithole. Lancaster, at the time, housed a large number of ex-military personnel, which resulted in a lot of attention and influence from the military. Lancaster was kind of barren, and well, because it's California, there was fucking nothing to do, so it was kind of just a weird place to be in. It makes sense that someone who lives in Lancaster, of all places, would get bored enough to start some weird music project. Oh yeah, right, this video's about music. Luke McGowan and Glenn Hobbs were residents of Lancaster, and as put, fellow cough drop eaters, one day got bored enough to make the whole experimental music shindig crap happen and release their, amalgamations under the name Five Starcle Men. The first few albums were created with literal cassette players and music samplers, as why I'm calling them amalgamations. Their tracks consisted of a lot of different things. The sound effects of random objects, sentences with absolutely no meaning, just generally weird noises with often weirder effects and alien abduction testimonies. This noisy, jarring, surreal style carries throughout the entire Five Starcle Men discography and only gets more potent the further they go, and they would continue to go for about 7 years. Over those 7 years, they started getting bigger and bigger. They made one vinyl release, merchandise, live shows, and at some point just abandoned Lancaster entirely in favor of Austin, Texas. Massive W, by the way. Jesus Christ. The footage you're seeing right now is actually recovered from one of those live shows. Five Starcle Men very much revolved around aliens. I know I'm going over this very, very quickly, but there was a lot of stuff. They even made their own language, which you can hear in some of their songs. It would be very easy to create a conspiracy about them, and in a way, the conspiracy was the aesthetic. But you have to remember that most of what these guys did was influenced heavily by DXM and other drugs, more particularly Robitussin. The effects of the drug started showing on the second member of the band, Glenn Hobbs' health, and looking at an interview, probably his mental state. After noticing how dark it was getting, Luke McGowan, the other member of the band, started laying off the drug, and Glenn sort of took over 5SM for a brief period. In 1998, Glenn committed suicide because of a really bad DXM trip. The specifics of his death aren't really known, and the only thing most people can really attribute to it is his worsening health and mental state, undoubtedly caused by DXM. Hey, off-script, no subtitle dip here. I sort of blew through Five Starcle Men's story and didn't really give this part of the video the beats that it needed, and so in context with Glenn's death, it just doesn't feel very complete. This is a sensitive topic, so I felt like the most respectful way I could go about this was to keep it brief. So, sorry in advance if this video feels a little quicker than it should. This video would be far shorter if it weren't for one specific and actually rather recent event. In 2015, Luke said in some email that all of the 5SM master tapes had been stolen by someone that he knew. Information on the person who stole the tapes is, complicated. Some descriptions seem pretty sensible and others genuinely crazy, but one thing's for certain, they were a huge 5SM fan. Were it not for this specific event, all of the music would probably still be available. You wouldn't be able to call it a lost media case. Because of this, the only way to obtain or recover the majority of 5SM's music would be from people who just happen to have copies lying around. This might be obvious, but you'd be hard-pressed to find any of that shit. The music was so strange and intentionally obscure, recovering these is made nearly impossible in some cases. How do we fix this? Well, you make a Discord server, because yeah, how the hell are you gonna find a 30-year-old experimental noise man? Page 2 of Google? 5SM fans banded together to create, 2.5 Men Wouse Club. This server, despite being able to fill up a library with all the damn 5SM information they have, would get together and attempt to find and recover as much as they could about the band. Finding re-uploads of certain tracks or albums, trying to restore unrecognizable samples, and even trying to find tapes in thrift stores. This has led to a lot of uploads on YouTube and such of what could have been recovered from the band. Upon trying to find these things, it was revealed that there were a lot of albums and tracks, and not only that, 5SM didn't just make noisy music and live shows, they made all kinds of things. Beyond the merchandise were multiple books, stories, objects, art, artifacts, all of which were made to further their aesthetic. The worst part is so much of this cool-ass stuff is probably destroyed by now. But the fact that there was so much more than what we have access to is what keeps me interested. Is what keeps most people interested. Another electronic music artist and a few other friends of the group contacted members of the Discord and provided lots of interesting information that probably aided in the search. This led to the revelation of just how many songs and albums in quantity Five Starcle Men had created. Dare I say, it was a Five Starcle many. I stole that joke. I am so sorry. I'd like to, not only for the sake of information, but because it's fucking absurd to read you the names of the albums and songs that we know exist. Not all of these are separate albums, a few of these are compilation albums, and one of them barely stands as an album. Istant. I Told You Human. Psychic Braille. Scunibro. Briscoe Disco 1 and 2. Doc Gired, Reject Ward, fucking drugged alien death god, which in spite of its name was actually just a single audio clip. Gamba, yeah, I'm not even gonna try with that one. Only Kids of the Nothing Star and Gamba Reject Ward Japan. For a while, the state of 5SM's community was rather slow. They'd still be finding and talking about samples, but for the most part, there was nothing left to do. Every lead they had was exhausted, every corner they had was turned, and information about the band, let alone recovering some of their more obscure tapes, all seemed to be run dry. Even when members of the community knew people who have, and some of them themselves, having direct contacts with Luke McGowan, chose not to inquire, so as not to invade on their privacy, and you know what? I respect that. It's not like these people had anything left to tell them, and from what is confirmable, Luke had moved on and was leading a completely different life. That's it. That's the story of 5 Starcle men. To conclude this video, well, shit. On October 4th, 2023, an account sent a message in the Discord server claiming that they were Luke and was asking to organize a Zoom conversation. This account had been in the server for years, lurking the chats off and on. It being fake seemed weirder than it being real, and that much was confirmed when the admins managed to get into texting Luke, and it was said that Luke McGowan, him fucking self, had agreed to join a Discord/Zoom meeting with the server on the 19th. I was lucky enough to have the pleasure of joining this call. It might have been one of the biggest Discord VCs I've been in, let alone actually been talking in. Luke personally asked people not to record, so I have no footage of this. But seeing everyone get so excited, watching the actual creator of this band tell the goofiest stories and have direct conversations with the VC was, well, I'd feel silly if I unironically called something wholesome. In the beginning, the call consisted of a lot of awkward audio jockey between Zoom and Discord, letting people set up the VCs and the Zoom meeting, realizing that Discord kicks in a member count when someone has their camera on, which is really dumb, by the way. After all of that, though, Luke went through multiple questions, from things about other bands to talking about the mixing and technology used to make 5SM's tracks. He showed off all of his digitized 5SM memorabilia, all of the artifacts he still has, talking about the lore and what all of that creepy alien abduction stuff was. The way he tells these stories makes 5SM sound like much more than just a band, and the extent of their ventures was, well, extensive. Seldom do creators reach out and engage with the fans like this. Maybe it's a little goofy, but by doing this, he's given himself the resources to, in a way, bring 5SM back. A really long time ago, me and my friends made a Minecraft roleplay server. Actually, we made multiple. Cringe, I know, but every once in a while we come back and look through these servers. We look at the YouTube videos we made on them, our old screenshots, etc. We all make half-hopeful jokes about starting it up again, but better and for content, but it wouldn't be the same. And we all know that. Like all things, these servers seriously crashed and burned. Unfortunately, I was probably the biggest reason for that crash, but I can't go back and change that now. Walking through this server is, by being nostalgic, downright surreal. It's a ghost town, and I remember one time when it was bustling and happy, always something new to look at. It was like walking through that hallway of memories. Every door shows you another flashback. It's fun going through this stuff, reliving the dumb shit we did and hoping it was archived better. I've been watching videos about people going through old and dead video game maps. It's incredibly interesting to see other people's memories, inside jokes, and in-group drama. It's almost eerie, like you're not supposed to be there. Every once in a while you'd come across a creepy message or have a strange coincidence occur. I very much feel this way with 5SM. Searching through the mountains of content and yet only being on a hill. Trying to recover things that you're not even sure were meant to be seen. The whole alien abduction aesthetic stuff doesn't help either, but in spite of how eerie it is, and how ghostly it feels, the community kept looking, even when there was nothing left. I mean, how could you not? You could dumb down the entire story of 5 Starcle men to just 2 crazy drug addicts made a bunch of random sounds. And while I guess that wouldn't be entirely wrong, after sitting in on this call, I realized that is incredibly reductive. So, seeing Luke here, experiencing this call, looking through the tens of thousands of Discord messages, makes me realize just how lucky the 5SM community is. Most lost media is, well, lost. And sometimes the majority of content and relation is stuck, never to be seen again. 5 Starcle men, however, well, don't get me wrong, still have a very large portion of unconfirmable and unrecovered content, seem to get a really satisfying conclusion. The conclusion that my Minecraft server never got. The conclusion that most people never got. I can't speak for Luke, but I hope that, in a way, 5SM is his version of these Minecraft servers. Metaphorically, I mean. That might have been what inspired this video. It sure as hell wasn't for the music. Should I read these? I think I'm gonna read these. Shilves. Awooga. Hi. Why would you put that there? Pigo. Super Soaker. Cornstarch. This one is so bad it takes up 2 signs. What were we thinking here?